Jacksonville.
Man, y'all know what time it is. T-Law got the eyes of Lee Van Cleef when he go in that field.
Checks it down underneath. That's a crossing route to Christian Kirk. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Christian Kirk to the goal line. Touchdown, Jacksonville.
They made a major mistake when they made T-Law go to the spirit of the sky, to the oracle of the saber-toothed tiger, and the saber-toothed tiger now has the scepter in his hands, and he been to put every critic to rest. Man, last night I done marinated 2 turkeys. I got my cherry wood getting ready for my smoker. Just got off from work, off Pritchard Road. I'm going to bake me 2 Cornish hens. My special recipe, I call it a Mediterranean Cornish hen. I'm going to top it off with my homemade Long Island iced tea. And I'm only going to top it off with 1 red top of Coca-Cola. The Maxwell House coffee will live on forever. Duval!
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your host Tony Smith and Dylan Denmark.
Oh, the show has got to give a special shout out to Al this morning as they have exposed Dylan for the first time that we heard from Holiday. He had never heard the original call that we got from Holiday there in 2021 after the slider play against Miami to get Coach Herbs his first win as an NFL head coach. There weren't many more to come after the first one, but he got his first one that day against Miami over there in London, and Al had saved where that call was. That's how big a fan he was of the Holiday call. So Dylan got to experience it yesterday. I got to re-experience it yesterday. John Shipley joining us in the studio today. John, it is radio magic. The first time that we heard from Holiday, he has become a celebrity here on the show. How are you today, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. What have you been up to? I know it's off-season time, right? So you're trying to find things to be working on this time of year, but what have you been working on?
Like you said, trying to find things, trying to explain to people who don't like the things that you find. It is the time to find literally anything and everything. Doing some different things at Jaguars on SI. Of course, Gus Logan and I have the podcast every week. I've started doing a top 25 Jaguars for 2024 countdown. I believe we're at number 17 right now coming up. We've had Mitch Morse at 18, Antonio Johnson at 19. You can go on the site, see where the rest of the guys fall in. But that's about what I've been up to. Yeah,
I'm curious to see who you actually have at 1.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that's actually an interesting debate.
Yeah.
They paid 2 guys that you could have at 1. On the team this year. But which one you would actually have at the top of that list going into this season, we'll see as that continues along. Obviously, a lot of the show yesterday was at the expense of Cody Benjamin. He earned it. What was your reaction to his top 20 edge rusher ratings, not posting Josh in there in the first one? Then he reposted it. It was funny because I saw it a couple days ago, and I had kept the link for the show when I came in. Because you couldn't just go to CBS Sports and click on it. Because if you clicked on it on CBS Sports, it took you back to the homepage.
Yeah.
And it's still doing that today. Right? Like, whatever that error is, it has never stopped with this particular article there on CBS Sports. But so I sent myself the link to it. And so starting the show yesterday, knew we were going to be talking a lot about it. I click into it, and it was live in the middle of the first segment. I was like, Pockets. He switched it. I was like, he fixed the list, quote, fixed the list, where he puts Josh back in there at 13-14, has the wrong name on it, doesn't have his right name on it anymore. It's not just Josh Allen anymore. It's got the Hines Allen now. He's got the hyphen there in the last name and had the wrong year. Right? And I was looking at the players around him on the list. I was like, no one else's year is wrong. I know no one else's year is wrong. Why is he saying Josh Allen's going into year 3? This doesn't make any sense. And it was funny.
That's half his career.
Right. So it was funny. On the way out yesterday, Mia mentioned it was like, did he think it was Trayvon Walker? Like, is it that simple? Like that kind of thing that he just confused them in their mind? But a lot going on with that list the last couple of days, John. But just what was your reaction when you saw all the chaos surrounding where Josh Allen was going to be on that list.
No, I think that obviously, and I'm guilty of it too, fans will consume any kind of listicle ranking. Anytime I see a Jaguar on a ranking from most places, I'll go out there and, kind of share it just to give people's perspective on what people on the outside are thinking. But, I mean, there's even after fixing it, there's not a dozen pass rushers better than Josh Allen. I mean, even, I know that we watch him every single week, and I don't necessarily watch TJ Watt or Myles Garrett every week. But, even if you don't watch them, going strictly by the numbers, and it doesn't even have to be sacks, just by pressure and pressure rate, he's one of the, I'd say even better than, he was, 8 on ESPN's list?
Yes.
They had, I want to say, 2 names over him that surprised me. It was Danielle Hunter, I think was 7, and Aiden Hutchinson, I think was 6.
He was.
I'd put him over those 2 guys. I'd put him at 6 at worst. So that's really my take. But I also think it kind of goes to show Jaguars fans, every time a national outlet or a national writer has a take Jaguars related, and you're thinking, okay, has he ever actually watched them? The answer is normally no. We watch Jaguars football infinitely more than most people around the country. And it's not a knock on Jaguars or anything. It's just the truth of the matter. Most people, and that's why, especially with the Trevor discourse, a lot of it comes down to stats, is most people just aren't watching Jaguars football. And for whatever reasons that is, obviously they're not, I guess, a marquee team. They're normally in that, 1 p.m., slot where people can kind of just set it and forget it. But I think that's the biggest thing. It's just ignorance to what's, actually here in Jacksonville.
Sure. And I try to preface my conversation about a lot of players around the league that kind of way. It's look, I'm watching the Jaguars every week. I see all the other teams. If they're on a national game, I watch every snap of that game. Yeah. Right? I don't miss a snap of NFL football if it's on my TV. I'm watching. I'll see whatever they put on Red Zone.
Yeah.
During an NFL Sunday. I am with where I watch the Jaguars games from for the broadcast every week. We do have Red Zone on. So I at least see Red Zone coverage of what's going on in the league with the Jaguars game on another TV in the studio down there. But I'm not watching closely. What's going on with all these other teams. I have a better idea of what's going on with Kansas City because I get to watch them 6 times. There is just a larger frame of reference for it. Last year was the largest frame of reference you could have had for Jaguars football in 20 years.
Yeah.
Right? Just as an average fan sitting anywhere in the country. If you're just one of these typical NFL fans who watch anything that's on when it's the NFL, well, you got to see them 4 times. There was that kind of thing going on last year that they didn't typically have, which makes some of those kind of things that happen on those lists, it's they're on.
Yeah.
This isn't the 2015 Jacksonville Jaguars where it's we're doing top 5 lists and we're including Scobie. There was a point in time where we had those kind of lists and those were serious lists. It's well, he is one of their 5 best players right now. And there's no joke about that. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's where Jaguars football, they're not there anymore. They're a team that made the playoffs 2 years ago. They were 1 game out of the playoffs last year. They're among the teams that are going to be at the top of the AFC South, I would expect this year. They're expected to be competing for that kind of thing again. This is the most competitive the Jaguars have been in 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
And that there's still this Josh not getting more respect than that on that kind of it just doesn't make any sense.
Is it better to fix it in the way he did or just completely ignore that he messed up and just march through it?
It felt like a panic thing to me.
I just don't know how you miss after the kind of year that he had. And especially in the social media age, you can know more about how players are playing than ever with not watching. Yeah. Next Gen Stats, I probably after 6 or 7 different games last year posted tweets about how Josh Allen was dominating the guy across him, including, I think, Laramie Tunsil one time. So, I don't know, just choosing to ignore that. It's a bold strategy, God.
No doubt. Trayvon, you mentioned the ESPN rankings from yesterday. Trayvon got a vote.
Yeah.
Among that list, I think that we officially had him at 26.
It's something like that. He was in the category of people who received votes, but not to be honorable mentions. And in the Josh Allen blurb, they even mention, I think it was Jeremy Fowler quoted a veteran defensive line coach. He said something along the lines of he thinks Allen and Walker are going to cause terror this year.
Well, it is interesting from the perspective of the way that putting that list together works is they send out the ballots to whoever is willing to turn in a ballot.
Yeah.
And the ballot is give us your top 10. So Trayvon being on there at all means somebody had him among the top 10.
Yeah,
right? It may have just been
executive.
one number 10 vote, but some scout, some executive somewhere at least had him in that kind of category, which isn't stunning given we heard guys, Coach Tomlin, talking about that game, getting ready for that. Like he's talked about Trayvon specifically before, so there is at least some recognition of it. As I talked about on the show yesterday, you mentioned that you probably would have Josh ahead of Aiden at this point in time. Yeah. I try to have this conversation with fans respectfully about Trayvon Walker. We're 2 years into it. After 1 year, the Trayvon Aiden thing, it was like, oh, what did they do?
It was pretty lopsided after 1 year.
Yeah, it was like, oh, what have they done with this particular decision? 2 years into it now, I am back on the hopeful side of them betting on the traits that they wanted to bet on with Trayvon Walker paying off. But still 2 years through both players' career, one of them has had a better 2 years than the other player. That doesn't mean he's going to be the best player a decade into their careers. Like, I still think that question is open, at least potentially again at this point. It didn't feel all that open after both of their rookie seasons. I think after the second year for Trayvon means it opens the question back up for me. And I'm glad that he at least got us back to that point. And there's a conversation to be had about, again, we react to all these lists when they come out. And we've seen plenty of the edge rush rankings. The ones that have come out this week are probably the last that we're going to see before we go into the season. We only got 2 weeks left before we get to training camp, right? But Trayvon not getting a whole lot of mention on those kind of lists, right, throughout the offseason, which isn't a big surprise. But Trayvon not getting love. Aiden is commonly somewhere between that 6 and 12, right, when those lists have been coming out. Kayvon gets some love in the top 20 when those kind of lists come out. You drafted him number 1 overall. Yeah. And I think we can all see the incline in his career after his second season. But now we're going into year 3. It certainly feels like we're at the point where when these lists start coming out next year, I expect Trayvon to be a part of those lists.
Yeah.
When they get made a year from now. I'm okay with where he is on a bunch of these lists going into 2024. But I expect after his third season that he's at least getting mentioned in the same kind of areas that Kayvon's been mentioned in this offseason.
Kayvon's interesting. I know Kayvon's had better sack numbers for his first 2 years. But I think when you look at the actual pass rush production, just in terms of pressures, pressure rates, pressures that come on unblocked snaps and against stuff like screens, RPOs, etc., and add in run defense, I'd put Trayvon ahead of Kayvon right now. And I'm somebody who, coming out in that draft class, I had Kayvon as my number 1 edge. I had a Kayvon, Hutchinson, Trayvon.
I was right there with you.
Yeah, right now, I think through 2 years, you probably have to go Hutchinson, Trayvon, Kayvon. And that's not a knock on Trayvon. I mean, Trayvon's probably a more balanced player. Mm-hmm. You know, he's better against the run. A little more versatile than Hutchinson. But I don't think you can. It's the same argument I've made for Josh Allen for years. I don't think you can ignore the pressure numbers. You know, it's just his pressure numbers, pressure rate. It's up there with some of the best in the NFL. So I don't think you can ignore that. But I mean, it's the big thing with draft picks. Once you pick a guy, the comparisons are always still going to be there over the guys you picked ahead of him. But once you've made that bed, you know, like there's nothing you can really do about it. Most you can hope for is, regardless of a comparison to another player, is that the guy you picked, some way, fashion, turns out to be a productive, good player. And I think Trayvon did take that step. Like, it's not to the point where that you could still be thinking now, like, okay, Walker over Hutchinson maybe was a bit of still a toss-up, but I don't think it's at the point now where you're saying, okay, Walker at 1 was a straight-up mistake. He showed enough last year to, you know, he's a valuable player in the NFL. And I think when you see, you know, this annual list from ESPN is probably the rankings I put the most stock in each year because, you know, like the way Fowler does it, he's getting it from people inside the league, inside the game. It's giving you not how the entire NFL thinks of him, because I think he said he polls up to 80 guys. So, but it just gives you a little snapshot, and it shows you that Trayvon is at least, he's thought of more, I think, in the NFL circles than he's thought of like on NFL Twitter or something like that. If that makes sense. Yeah,
I think his second year brought back into consideration the reasons that they would draft him 1, right? Like the reasons that they would choose Trayvon over Aiden. You know, I don't think they're completely justified yet, and we'll see how these guys' careers play out. Aiden's been the better player through 2 years.
Yeah.
That's not hard to see or to say. He's been the better player through 2 years, and I don't know how much better the Jaguars would be with Aiden Hutchinson opposite Josh. I don't know what the answer to that is, but after 1 year, it was like, oh, come on. Like, we need something.
Yeah.
Something. Trayvon in year 2 was way better, and he is a player that still has room to grow into the kind of things that they were willing to bet on, right? Like, they were willing to bet that it may not happen in year 1. Yeah. They were willing to make that bet, and we'll see if it's one that pays off ultimately for the team. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day today, and, Trayvon may be the answer for a lot of people out there. Outside of Trevor Lawrence, what player are you most confident in seeing a breakout season from in 2024? ESPN, as you mentioned, still doing their rankings today as safety. Yeah, a Jaguar got mentioned on the safety rankings.
They so far have at least had a name mentioned in some sort of fashion, and all 4 of them so far. And I remember, like the 2020 season, when I was following these, they'd maybe have a name mentioned in maybe one of the articles they had. Well, ETN, I think, was the 10th running back. Eric Armstead,
16, I think.
Yeah,
it was.
he like Trayvon was like in the received votes category, and then Josh Hines Allen at number 8.
Yeah, Allen at 8, Walker there at the end of it at 26, I think it was, if I counted them up correctly, and we'll let you know. But there is a Jaguars name in the safety rankings as well, so they are appearing at least in all these lists. I even said it a couple days ago. I don't expect a whole lot of love in the safety rankings. Well, here we are. We'll talk about that as we continue along today. SB Nation had a story out as well where they were making the hot takes predictions for the 2024 season. We'll let you react to some of those, how likely we think they might be going into this NFL season. John Shipley alongside as we get things rolling here on a Thursday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Maybe way back in January you set a New Year's resolution to drop some pounds this year and keep them off. Well, maybe you've succeeded, maybe you haven't, but here's the beauty of it. It's never too late. Awaken 180 is sitting there waiting for you. They've had over 21,000 satisfied customers in their history with an over 98% satisfaction rating. I'm one of those, certainly. They help me drop the pounds, but more importantly, they help me keep those pounds off. That's been the difficulty in my life. Yo-yo up and down with the weight. Well, with Awaken 180, I set a goal weight. Once I reach that, I get free support and coaching for life. That's right, free for life. The same for you or any other Awaken 180 customer. Whether you need to lose 10, 15, 50, 100 or more pounds, it doesn't matter the number. Awaken 180 can help you. Call 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800. Or simply schedule a free online consultation at awaken180weightloss.com.
Jaguars Today Thursday is towed by Cannons of Jacksonville for all your towing needs. Jaguars Today for the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios.
This could be the piebald syndrome. But the piebald syndrome is when the metal in your mouth collects radio signals.
You're kidding.
It happens quite often, but usually with
1010XL.
The coolest thing going on right now is the summer fan sale with 3 ways to save at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Browse their huge selection of high-quality fans to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness. Buy 1 fan, save 10%. Buy 2, save 15%. Buy 3 or more and save 20% off summer pricing on all fans. Visit their showroom near the avenues while inventory is still available and discover the difference that locally owned expertise makes at First Coast Lighting and Fans.
If you're an experienced, skilled plumber or welder that's MedGas certified and you're tired of working for a company that just doesn't treat you right, Local 234 is the place for you. Their pay is the best in the business. You'll walk away with $35.09 an hour in your pocket. With benefits, that's just over $50 an hour. Local 234 has been around since 1901, and that means something. Visit UA234.com to send your resume. Local 234. Make the right connection.
This is big-time ball season.
1010XL takes you to SEC Football Media Days.
They'll have something unique to bring to the game.
Players, coaches, college football insiders. Brought to you by Southern Steer Butcher and Underwood Jewelers.
I love this game. I live this game.
Did you know a metal roof from Prime Roofing has the highest wind and impact ratings available? If you want a stronger roof, think metal. Think Prime Roofing. Learn more at primeroofingfl.com. That's primeroofingfl.com.
Daily Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey ham, melted cheddar and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Baloo for Shinatri Chiropractic. They've helped me get rid of my headaches and pain in my neck and back. Are you suffering from an auto accident? What about TMJ pain? Headaches associated with jaw clenching, grinding of the teeth, or stress-related disorders? Shinatri Chiropractic has a physical therapist on staff for rehabilitation, quality chiropractic care, dry needling, massage, and acupuncture. Call 743-6700 or go to shinatridc.com.
There's certain places you know if you go in, they got what you're looking for, like Gate Convenience Stores and Cold Modelo's. That's the ticket. Or get on the craft side of things with something from Bold City or Sweetwater. Hit the cooler at Gate, full of choices and all of them good.
Right now, you may be running a little late, or feeling stressed, or overwhelmed, and you may be going a bit over the speed limit. So to help you relax, exhale. Ease up on the gas. You'll get there when you get there. Take a moment to just chill. This little break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Don't make a bad call when it comes to servicing your home. Cooling off with a baby pool in the house to fix your air conditioning problem is a bad call. Trying to catch a wave in a flooded bathroom is a bad call. Using a burning electrical panel to make s'mores is a bad call. The next time something goes wrong, make a good call to Donovan.
Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. It's why we've been trusted by our customers for almost 40 years and why you can trust us to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Donovan, always a good call.
Visit DonovanAC.com today.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Tony Smith, John Shipley here with you on this Thursday edition of Jaguars Today. Pockets alongside as well. What's going on today, Dylan?
Leaving it for Boston tomorrow, so I got to make sure I got my toothpaste and toothbrush, and I'm sure I'll forget something.
I'm sure. You won't forget the frivolity of being a baseball fan and going to Fenway. Have you been to Fenway?
I have not. I've only been to the Brave Stadium, the last two.
Okay.
So this will be cool. Taking a tour of Fenway Saturday morning, and I might go to the game tomorrow or Saturday. I don't know which one yet.
Oh, only MLB stadium I've been to is Tropicana.
For real?
Yeah. I went there to watch Cubs game with my dad as a kid, and they lost both, so I got to see them lose 2 games in the worst stadium in sports. It was good birthday.
Yeah, I usually would make a pilgrimage up to Atlanta, for a series every year. I would do that kind of thing. I've been to the old ballpark in Miami before they built the new one. I haven't been to the new one since they built it down there.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to Tampa. I have no interest in ever driving to Tampa.
No, my lasting memory from that trip is, so my favorite pitcher growing up was Kerry Wood.
Mm-hmm.
And this was when he was in his reliever stage with the Cubs. But he'd come in for 1 inning a game and be throwing like 95 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I was such a big Kerry Wood fan, and he's warming up for the game, and I scream something, and he gets the ball and throws it at me. I'm so excited. This middle-aged dude comes up in front of me and snacks it out. I swear on everything.
Still didn't give you the ball?
No. Dude hauled the tail.
Man, that's messed up. That's messed up.
Me and my dad still talk about it.
Yeah. Like, there's general ballpark etiquette, right? Like, there are things that you can and can't do, right? Even if you're that guy, if you turn around and you see there was a 5-year-old girl that had her hands up waiting for the ball, you say, here you go.
It happened so quick. I couldn't even say anything. Dude, he knew what he was doing. It wasn't his first time.
Right. Oh, that's ugh.
Never again.
That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Like that, I think those kind of things explain some of the limitations that have been put on at times on like interviews.
Yeah.
We got training camp coming up here in a couple weeks, and they've limited it. When I was a kid, and you'd go out to Jaguars training camp, it was, You got there before practice to try to catch him going into the building.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you had to get out there super early to try to catch him going into the building, and then you'd wait out there afterwards. It's not like the players are going to be available here. It's like you're just waiting out in the sun somewhere, hoping that some player walks by you at some point so that you can get an interview from one of these guys. I had a friend of mine. Hacker and I were at training camp one day, and we had a friend that we worked with at the movie theater at the time. He had never been out to Jaguars training camp.
Yeah.
And he came out there with a football, wanted to get it signed. He didn't know who he was going to see, that kind of thing. He happened to get Baselli on his way into the building, and we're like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Your first day out here, you get Tony Baselli at the time. Well, he got Jimmy. And now we're going, oh, no. Like, he's got Baselli and Jimmy on the ball. Keenan McCardell.
Wow.
Signed the football. There was this thing with Fred Taylor at the time. Fred was aware of how many signatures he had given in a day, right? And we had this rule in our heads about Fred that he would do 5 and that was it, right? Like, whoever the 5th signature was, that was it for Fred for the day. And it had been like that every time I had ever been out there, right? And so my friend, who's got Tony and Jimmy and Keenan, and he got Burnell too. He's got them all on there. And,
Murders, bro.
Right. And Fred is doing signatures after practice that day. Like, he came over, and my friend is 4th in line. Like, I can see it. He's 4th in line for this. I'm like, this is amazing. He's going to have them all on the same football, that kind of thing. Well, someone stepped in front of him. I was like, okay, he's 5th in line. He's still in. He's safe right now. And someone else stepped in front of him. I was like, no. Like I went over. He had no idea what was going on. I was like, give me the ball.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I was like, give me the ball. And he's like, okay. He gives me the ball, and I get the guy in front of him. He's like, no, you weren't here in line, right? You're behind us, right? I got back into my friend's spot in line. He got them all.
You're a good friend.
That day. As far as I know, it's still the only day he
That's
ever went
awesome.
out to training camp. I have no idea if he's ever gotten anything else signed in his life. But that day,
That's awesome.
He got them all, right? Maybe the 5 best Jaguars in team history.
How many people have a football with all those signatures?
Oh my gosh. Like, it's crazy that it happened the way that it had. Just happened to be. We got there. Tony happened to be walking in, and he was like, hey, can you sign this? And he's like, yeah, sure. He signs it. I was like, oh, that's cool. If nothing else happens today, he got Tony Baselli.
Yeah.
Just signed it. But then everything else happened. I was
Just
like,
falls in place.
This is unreal. This kind of thing going on for my friend. I mentioned ESPN doing the safety rankings today. The safety rankings are the weirdest group.
It's a weird position.
Right, that they put out to this point. It is kind of weird. I was thinking through it, because they did have Andre Sisco among the honorable mentions here. 16 would be where he'd be on the list if they numbered it after 10. You can still count him, though. 16. Andre Sisco is on this list. And the little blurb about Andre on the article, Sisco had a career-high 4 interceptions in 2023. He can generate turnovers at an elite level. He'll be a 30-plus career interception guy, an NFC coordinator said. That was his reputation coming into the league. Certainly, look, Sisco has forced, he's got 7 turnovers, or 7 interceptions the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And he is a bit of an enforcer. There on the back end, there are some things obviously that need to improve in Andre's game, and we'll see what the long term. I don't know what the answer to the question is Andre Sisco a safety for the Jags in 2025? I'm not sure which direction that's going to go at this point, but certainly he does feel like a guy that's going to be around the football a ton.
He's going to get a payday next year, I think. No clue whether that's with Jacksonville or not, but I mean, that's why I think rankings like these are important. It shows you have people inside the NFL, people who are going to be making these decisions feel, and obviously Sisco is seen as a rising player at the safety position. There's been a lot of like rankings type list or breakout player type list. It seems like a lot of people are pegging him as like one of the potential breakout players in the AFC in general this year.
Yeah, I think Sisco, when I think about Andre Sisco and what we've seen from him through these first couple of years, he got handicapped by his coach year 1. He was certainly ready to play before he got to play.
I'll never. It was like Urban was perplexed on why we were asking, hey, why is the career, number 3 safety special teamer starting over the 3rd round pick?
Yeah. It didn't make any sense the way he got used. Once he was healthy enough to play, we knew there were questions about when that was going to be.
Yeah.
When he could go full bore, just get it done. But he was where he was picked, the conversation about him coming into the league, there were big expectations for Andre Cisco. It felt like a coup for the Jags to get him in the third round. It's like, this is a guy who's going to be the starting safety tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? When it happens for him, it's going to happen right then. For Andre Cisco, why are we waiting on this kind of thing to happen? But they did. He started the final 3 games there of his rookie year. His second year, had 3 interceptions, wound up with 73 tackles, 1 sack that season, 10 passes defense. That's a big number for a safety.
Mm-hmm.
Then last season, the 4 interception season in 15 games, 5 passes defense, 1 forced fumble, half a sack, 62 tackles. So it did feel like some of the production numbers came down a little bit for Cisco going into his second year as a full-time starter. What are your expectations for him going into this season?
I think around the 2022 numbers. I think around 3, 4, maybe 5 interceptions, double-digit pass deflections, those kind of things. I think the big thing with him last year is really, it seemed like you could say this for most of their players, like their high-profile players. Like throughout the second half of the season, it was clear that he wasn't healthy. It was clear he dealt with a shoulder injury. Don't quote me on it. I want to say Doug Peterson might have even said he had some kind of off-season procedure on his shoulder. Whatever it was, he wasn't healthy last year, and he was still working back to health, this offseason. I think that was a big reason, especially his style of play. He's interesting. He's like a blend of like a true, like rangy free safety, and he's also like a heat-seeking missile who will make some even controversial hits at times. So my expectations are for him to have, a solid season. I think in Ryan Nielsen's defense especially, he lets the safeties do a little bit of everything. We can't say what we see out of practice in terms of scheme. Like, for better or worse, you have to wait until like preseason games start for us to really start talking about scheme and stuff. But I will say, I think safeties will have a chance to do a little bit of everything, getting after the quarterback, stopping the run, obviously playing the pass. I think this would be a good scheme for Cisco because he has shown he can do a little bit of all that. So I think as long as he stays healthy, he'll have a good year. It wouldn't surprise me to see him have like a 6, maybe even 7 interception kind of breakout season. He is kind of a ball magnet like that. It seems like his interceptions come in bunches. Most of his interceptions last year, I think, came in the first half of the season before that one he had in Week 18 against the Titans. When he intercepted that ball, I thought that was the turning point. I thought Jags were winning that game. But he's definitely had an interesting career so far. The last thing I'll say about his rookie year is one of my favorite urbanism moments outside of the Roy Roberts and James, the running back, and Adam Clancy's moments was, I think our pal Demetrius Harvey tweeted it out when it happened. Urban was asked about Cisco. And he's like, well, I think he's playing more. And Demetrius tweeted out, he said, he played 1 snap yesterday. That just kind of summed up his rookie year. But I think he's been on a good trajectory since then. Is he a guy that, like, I think you absolutely have to pay? Like, if you ask the question today, I don't think there's an easy answer, whereas I think with other guys in the past, like Trevor, yes. Josh Hines-Allen, yes. I don't think it's like an automatic yes for Cisco, but I think if he has a good idea, you probably have to. I mean, I think he's going to get a big deal next year regardless. It just seems like the opinion on him around the league is higher than it has been.
Was he fined for that hit on Juju?
I'm really not sure.
Like, I know Kansas City, the fans up there went nuts. Like,
I don't think he was.
The dirty player reputation, all that kind of thing. It was like I didn't think that was a dirty play when it happened.
It's a physical play.
Right. I think in the NFL these days, and Juju got hurt on the play, so there are consequences in today's NFL for being a defender in the right position.
Yeah.
Like, it does feel I don't think that's made up.
No.
I think there really are consequences for defenders in the NFL for putting yourself in the right position and hitting a guy when you get a clean shot on a guy.
Yeah.
When it looks that violent and somebody gets hurt on it, they go, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. It's like, well, are they allowed to play safety?
It's definitely a different league today. This fan base to watch Donovan Darius. I mean, his hit against the Packers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't do that today. Obviously, people are going to have different reactions to those kind of hits today. Like if Andre Cisco had played 20 years ago, everybody thinks that's a great hit.
Yeah. And we had the hit week 1 last year. Where look, if Anthony Richardson wants to be stupid enough to try to go heads up with him, That's on him. You know, like the safety's job is to kill him.
Yeah.
That's the quarterback running in the open field, and he's a big guy, right? Like his whole thing coming into the league was he's a big physical runner. Well, let's see how physical you are.
Shows you the difference between college safeties and NFL safeties.
Right, like if you're in the open field like that, you're just a runner. You're no longer the quarterback. You put yourself at as much risk as you're willing to put yourself up to.
Yeah.
And in that position, in a game situation where he had no business making the decision that he made, he got himself hurt. It's on him.
So here's my question, I guess. If you have to only pick one, Tyson Campbell, Andre Cisco, it seems like it's obviously in reality pointing to Tyson Campbell. I think Ian Rappaport had a report the other day saying Campbell is the kind of player the Jags want to pay, which when those NFL insiders are saying it,
they're hearing something.
Yeah, exactly. So the answer's already kind of been decided, but hypothetically to you, if you had to pick one, Andre Cisco or Tyson Campbell, to keep after this year, you lose the other one, which is...
I lean towards Campbell.
Yeah, I would too.
And last year I would have sprinted that card to the table, you know, but this year is just more of a lean in my mind. I don't know what the price tag is going to be on either one of those guys. I'm interested to see if they are going to get that deal done here in the next 2 weeks with Tyson, what exactly that's going to look like. Because I've thought the whole time that the most likely scenario was the Jags are willing to make an offer at X level. Tyson says, then we'll talk again about it next year. Right? Kind of bet on himself for a year. You know, Josh didn't even get to that point in the process last offseason. As far as we know, there were no conversations about any of that kind of stuff. It's not like he said, I'm going to bet on myself. It's like the team said, let's make him bet on himself. Yeah. Like that's the way they handled Josh's situation last year. There is every indication right now is that that's not how they want to approach the Tyson Campbell thing.
Which is fascinating.
Yeah, that they want to get it done. And again, I'm all kinds of curious as to how it's going to look. I mentioned that there is, over at SB Nation, hot takes going into the 2024 season. We will go through some of those. A couple of them are Jaguars related.
Okay.
Of the 7 that they put up there. So we'll get into those, let you know how realistic or foolish we think some of these predictions are. It's that time of year for everyone to make their hot take prediction on what's going to be happening with their team or the league in general. So we'll take a look at that as we return here on a Thursday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Hi, everybody. Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. Do you want to make your home look better and be more energy efficient? Well, Pella is probably the answer for you, like they were for me. I replaced all my windows in my home with Pella windows, and I've never looked back. Great design, the strongest warranties in the industry, the highest quality products. What more can I tell you than I trust them in my own home? No matter what your situation is, whether you need one window or the entire house replaced, stop by the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway or visit PellaJacks.com. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Jaguars Today Thursday is brought to you by
Cannons of Jacksonville.
Jaguars Today.
For the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios at 1010XL. You know Dan Hicken.
Shouldn't you be out signing autographs somewhere or something?
And you know Jeff Prosser.
I wanted to be a magician.
They are The Drill.
You know, at a distance, you'd almost pass for a man. But you're certainly a disappointment up close, aren't you?
Mornings on 1010XL.
Imagine driving a late model Corvette, BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Honda, Chevy, Ford, and more, all at a fraction of the original sticker price. Visit Vaughn Motor Group's indoor showroom and browse a great selection of dream cars that are inspected with warranties. Before you make your next auto purchase, check out Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard or at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
This July, celebrate America's independence with a fresh view from Renewal by Anderson. Hi, this is Chelsea. Right now, buy any 4 windows or patio doors and get the 5th free. Plus, enjoy 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 18 months. Our custom-built, energy-efficient windows and doors will enhance the beauty and value of your home. Visit rbafla.com to schedule your complimentary design consultation. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
The following people are under the influence of no air conditioning.
Oh, man.
Is it ever hot? I can't get up. My legs are stuck to the chair.
Can guys go through menopause?
Why?
I think I'm having a hot flash.
Don't let no AC happen to you. Call Duck Duck Air Conditioning, available 24 hours a day, and they'll fix it right the first time. When your AC system needs a repair, it's time to call Duck Duck Air, 904-862-6769, or online at duckduckac.com. Duck Duck Air Conditioning, a division of Duck Duck Rooter.
Get your golf weekend started early during Brunch with the Tour.
Here it comes.
Tour news, tips, and inside info.
Brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation.
Fantastic shot there.
Brunch provided by Chick-fil-A. Tuesday morning at 8:30 on 1010XL.
Hurricane season on the First Coast can leave you in the dark, so why not get a head start on storm season with a home generator system from American Electrical? They've sold and installed more generators in Jacksonville than any other company around, with scores of whole home generator installations throughout North Florida. That's right, American Electrical has been installing and repairing thousands of generators for over a decade in Duval. Keep your loved ones and property protected. Log on to american-electrical.com and see how they can help you.
Sports fans, JJ LaSalva here. When I need to send my bride flowers or a plant for birthdays or anniversaries, I always go with Hume Flowers. After all, they've been the leading florist in these parts for over 75 years. You can always rely on Hume Flowers.
We love talking sports on 1010XL, and I-9 Sports loves giving kids the perfect way to grow up playing sports. Fall and winter registration is underway. Log on to i9sports.com and see all they've got to offer. Kids 3 and up. You can enter 1010 in the promo code for a discount. Year-round sports all across the First Coast. St. John's, Duval, and Clay. Sign up now for fall and winter. Great locations added like Fort Family Field, Westside Middle, and Duval Charter Bay Meadows. It's all online at i9sports.com.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about letting things roll off of your back. So often we can make big deals out of things that are not really big deals. We can allow them to steal the joy of our day. But let me remind you that don't allow anyone or anything to steal the joy of today. Go out today not letting little things steal the big things that God has in store for you.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
Hey, it's Tony from Tony D's Pizza. If you love our pizza and pasta dishes, let us cater an event for you. Family function or office parties, we can deliver you an amazing Italian meal. Remember, it's not just pizza at Tony D's. Bay Meadows in $2.95.
New and pre-owned firearms are in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimber, Smith & Wesson, 6 Hour, Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Only at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Oh, now we got John in the mood.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm ready.
Got Mafia John in the
mood? Oh, yeah. The Don.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We all know The Sopranos is The Sopranos. There's nothing else quite like it. You can... Any kind of ranking of the HBO shows list you see, if it's not going to be number 1, it's not going to be any lower than 2 on most. 3 feels like you're even pushing it a little bit to not have Sopranos in the top 2. You know?
When I first met my wife about 3 years ago, she knew I was complete Sopranos nut, and I would try to get her over and over again. I'm like, watch a show, watch a show, watch a show. I think I'm probably annoying to watch a show with because I'm always like, hey, wasn't that awesome? Like crap like that. Yeah. She finally watched it and finished it like a month ago, and just seeing the like expression and the reaction she had to like how it ended was priceless for me. I didn't give anything away from her. She was like, is there something wrong?
It's stunning that it didn't happen in like pop culture.
Yeah.
You know, like, because that is kind of just one of those references to things that happen at the end of a show, you know, now. I have a friend of mine who is a state trooper, right? And he works the homicide department basically with the state troopers. He's wanted to be involved somehow in police for a long time now. So, he thought about going FBI, all these different things. Like, he thought about a bunch of career trajectories. He's working traffic homicide now for the state troopers here in town. And he had never watched The Wire. And I had been telling him for years, I was like, with what you do.
Yeah.
Like, how have you not watched this show? He's like, it can't be what everyone says it is. Like, it can't be.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it is. Right? Like, I watched that show and I feel like I've lived for 5 years in Baltimore. Like, that's how good that show is. And it does give you all the kind of behind the scenes. This is what it works like in the homicide department. This is what it's like from the criminal side of all this stuff. This is the media side. This is the school side. This is the political side. Like, it gives you all the different sides of it. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll try it. And I talked to him a few weeks into it. He's like, I've never seen a better show in my life.
Oh, the cast is unbelievable.
Yeah. He was like, and I asked him, I was like, how, because you've done a little bit of this homicide stuff. I was like, how real do the things that you see on that show feel from the investigation side? He's like, I've never seen anything like it. Right? Like, it does feel like police work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what the show is. I can understand the handful of people that watch it and go, nah, not for me.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, Law and Order is not police work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a TV show. They do a pretty good job of giving you some general foggy idea. CSI gives you some general foggy idea of what it would be like to do that. But The Wire feels like you're doing a documentary style show.
It's not glamorous.
Right, about Baltimore. Like, that's what the show feels like. It's crazy, the kind of thing they did. And The Sopranos feels like a documentary about the mob. Like, that really is what it feels like when everything is said and done. I mentioned SB Nation has an article that they put out yesterday. The 7 NFL hot takes for this upcoming season from Mark Schofield.
Okay.
And we'll just go through the list. You tell me how likely, unlikely, very sane, insane some of these hot takes may be. We'll start out with Justin Fields wins the starting job in Pittsburgh.
Nah, I don't think there's a snowball chance. I don't. I loved Justin Fields coming out. I thought it went. Trevor Lawrence is the best player in that class. Justin Fields is right behind him. If you can't get Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields is your best bet at a franchise quarterback in that class. He just isn't very good. It's just the simple truth of the matter. And I have buddies who cover, the Steelers who they told me like during like the OTA session, it was like the first practice, the entire media group was, buzzing about Justin Fields versus Russell. They think Fields could have a leg up. And then after the practice, everybody, the entire media group was like, it looks like it's Russell's job. That's just, I don't see it.
The Indianapolis Colts make the playoffs.
So they almost made it with Gardner Minshew last year. So I don't think that's completely out of pocket if you're reasoning that Anthony Richardson is...
You're betting on him to be healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's clearly, I think, if healthy, clearly an upgrade, substantial one over Gardner Minshew. But I'd like to see him play at least half an NFL season. That's my big thing. I'm a huge Anthony Richardson fan of skill set, but I've seen people call him like a dark horse MVP and stuff. And I'm like, let him prove he can be healthy. Because his biggest thing is he doesn't get injured just because, like, guys, the position he plays and guys have coming in and hitting him. He gets injured largely because of his play style, too. And I think Trevor gets injured sometimes because of his play style. Young quarterbacks, sometimes it takes something. I mean, you remember that week 1 game. You mentioned the Andre Cisco hit. There was another one where he lowered his shoulder at Fourier, in the near the goal line, and Fourier just buried him. And it was the kind of hit you just don't see quarterbacks take. So I want to see him stay healthy. So until he can stay healthy, I think that's a hot take. But if he can stay healthy, I think they have a chance. Steichen's a good coach. They have a good enough roster. Like I said, they almost made the playoffs last year with Gardner Minshew, and I think there's a Gardner Minshew on every other team.
Yeah, I mean, we hear the coaches here in Jacksonville talk about Trevor needing to protect himself, learn when to do that in those moments. Did Anthony play enough last year to know? Right? Like, I think that's an open question.
You got to hope that him not playing.
Right. We know he got hurt a couple of different times, and the last one was enough to take him out, for the rest of the season. And you're right. The Colts still, look, A running back makes a catch on a well-thrown ball on a 4th down. I think they wind up winning that game, and Houston goes home, and Indianapolis is the division champ.
Yeah.
I think that's what was going to happen.
How different is this offseason narrative-wise?
Right. And so, look, I get the putting Indianapolis still in the middle of it. They don't have Gardner anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different situation with Flacco. I'm not saying it's impossible for them to recreate that kind of thing. He obviously did it last year in Cleveland. So it's possible for him to find that kind of magic again, but it does feel he is a year older.
Yeah.
Anthony should be a year more mature right in the league, but it is a big bet. It would feel like on him to stay healthy. Next up, the Carolina Panthers will win the NFC South.
I'll say one of my hot takes of this season, I think the Panthers have the number 1 pick again next year.
Wow.
I think the Panthers are going to be the worst team in football. I don't think it's a good roster.
So crazy.
Yeah. I don't think it's a good roster. I'm not a Bryce Young believer. Like, I don't think adding Deontay Johnson and one of the draft's rawest receivers is going to just fix that entire operation. So, no, I think the Panthers are more likely to be the worst team in the NFL than they are to win the division. I think Tampa, Atlanta, and New Orleans are all better teams than them.
The last sentence of his write-up here, you'll get a kick out of this. Last year, all signs pointed to the Bucs being the worst team in the AFC South, and they won it. That can be the Panthers in 2024, regardless of what Atlanta has in store. Oh, is that how it works now? You just pick the team to finish last?
Yeah, no. I have not been as discouraged by a top picks rookie season like Bryce Young's since I can't remember when. Like, people have compared it to Trevor Lawrence's, but you actually watch Trevor and ignore the end result of some of the games and plays. He was making some plays as a rookie. He was put in an awful situation, but he flashed. I didn't watch every snap of Bryce Young, but I didn't think he really flashed last year outside of like a game or two. I'd be concerned if I was Carolina.
Sam Darnold is going to create a quarterback controversy for the Vikings.
I don't think J.J. McCarthy starts week 1, but like when the Vikings and Jags play in like late October, early November, I think J.J. McCarthy's starting.
The Green Bay Packers will finish with the best offense in the National Football League.
No, but they'll probably have a top 8 one. I think 49ers are going to have the best offense until, anybody really figures out a way to stop Kyle Shanahan until it's the Super Bowl, evidently. But I think the Packers are going to have a really good offense. Best offense? I don't think so.
Let's see. 3 AFC South teams make the playoffs.
I could see that. I think Houston, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville are all playoff caliber teams. The AFC obviously isn't stacked. It's stacked at the top, but as you go further down, it's not as impressive. But I could see it. I think every team but the Titans have a chance to make it.
Max Crosby will win Defensive Player of the Year.
I could see that. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. We were talking about the quarterback and receiver show. You remember the quarterback show last year, him and Patrick Mahomes, how much they were going at. And I love Patrick Mahomes, but just seeing like a closer view of like the energy Max Crosby plays with made me such a big fan of his. It's crazy that they could have legitimately had, people talk about the Jags could have had Josh Allen, Aiden Hutchinson. The Raiders could have had Josh Hines Allen and Max Crosby pretty easily.
Yeah. Look, it's kind of funny when you start looking at those, the edge rankings with those kind of guys. They talk about a guy they could have had pretty easily. How about Khalil Mack?
Yeah.
Like that. And there was some talk going into that draft. It's like, why not Khalil Mack? I can remember. It's funny. Ryan O'Halloran, who used to do Thursdays with us when we started Jaguars Today, he would be in with us on Thursdays, working over at the Times Union, covering the team. And he was with us that year going into the draft. And when we would talk about that specifically, Khalil Mack with him, he'd be like, Buffalo? He's like, what? You went to school where?
You do a good Ryan.
Right? It was that kind of thing, right? Yeah. And it was like, okay, you feel that way about small school guys.
You just had to watch him against Ohio State that year.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
He was a monster.
That was the Blake Bortles year, wasn't it?
I think it was.
It was Bortles or Fowler. Either way.
I think it might have been Fowler. Let me look.
Either way, he would have been a better choice.
Yeah, Khalil Mack's a guy who's likely on his way to the Hall of Fame. when everything is said and done. I know he was a member of the 2010s All-Decade team.
And he's still going strong, man.
He had the 17-sack season last year. I think it had been 4 or 5 years since he had gotten to double digits.
He had a great quote about that. He said, somebody said to him, they're like, well, you had 6 of your sacks in one game. And he was like, what do you want me to do, not get 6 sacks in one game?
Right. Like, that kind of stuff I always think is pretty silly.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's when people talk about, but he had him against X, it's like, how do you think the guys who wind up with those monster years wind up with those monster years, right?
It's still
silly.
Inconceivable to me that a guy could have 6 sacks in an NFL game. Like, after the third or fourth one, you don't come up with something.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the Bortles year.
That was the Bortles year?
Yeah.
Yikes.
The top of that draft that year, Clowney at 1 to Houston.
Yeah.
Greg Robinson 2 to St. Louis.
God.
Blake Bortles 3 to Jacksonville.
It's getting worse.
Sammy Watkins to Buffalo 4.
My God.
Khalil Mack 5th.
That's crazy.
To the Oakland Raiders.
What a terrible top 5.
Yeah, the rest of the top 10, Jake Matthews to Atlanta. Good player. Mike Evans, Hall of Famer. 7 to Tampa Bay. Justin Gilbert 8.
One of the worst picks of the modern era.
To Cleveland. Anthony Barr 9 to Minnesota. And Eric Ebron 10th.
I forgot Eric Ebron went 10th.
To Detroit,
That's crazy.
He was, that was an answer to a trivia question there for a while.
Yeah.
First round tight ends before Kyle Pitts. Like that was basically the list was Ebron. But yeah, it's they had a chance to get Khalil Mack. You can feel how you want to feel about that compared to what you got out of Blake Bortles during his time here.
Raiders got, I think, Mack and Derek Carr out of that draft. That's a pretty good haul.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It hadn't netted them much.
No, I was going to say, that was about the last time they started hitting them.
Yeah. Hasn't netted them much on the field since then. We'll continue along. Second hour of the program coming up next here on 1010 XL.
You're locked into Jaguars Today Thursday with Cannons of Jacksonville. Jaguars
Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL.
There's a new one-stop shop for all things Jags. Subscribe to the 1010XL Jaguars YouTube channel. One-on-one interviews with players, practice footage, podcasts, and more. If you're looking for the best Big Cat coverage around, look no further. 1010XL Jaguars on YouTube.
Enjoy the thrill of the grill at John Smith Subs with specialty subs like the Steak Bomb, the Gator, plus a full lineup of cold and hot deli subs, including the best Cuban and Duval. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs on Hodges and JTB.
I'm Patrick Young, inviting you to the Florida SBDC's Network Small Business Success Summit, August 19th and 20th at the Sawgrass Marriott in Ponte Vedra. If you're ready to learn, network, and be inspired, I'll be delivering a keynote message you won't want to miss. Secure your spot today by registering at floridasbdc.org. Hey, there's no time to waste. Right now is the right time. I hope to see you at the Small Business Success Summit in August.
Right now, you may be running a little late, or feeling stressed, or overwhelmed, and you may be going a bit over the speed limit. So to help you relax, exhale. Ease up on the gas. You'll get there when you get there. Take a moment to just chill. This little break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I have exciting news from Leonard Truck Outfitters, now with 2 great locations to get that truck hooked up. Beach Boulevard just past Southside and one on Blanding. I got my truck taken care of, and you should too. Leonard Truck Outfitters, your truck, your style.
Let's go! Help cheer your Sharks on to victory as they battle the Green Bay Blizzards in exciting IFL football action this Saturday, July 13th, 7 o'clock in the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Now, check out our new family pack. You get 4 tickets, 4 vouchers, and a $25 Al's Pizza gift card. It's a great deal. To purchase yours or to get more information, call 904-621-0700. And ho, ho, ho! Who's ready for Christmas in July?
A little Christmas music, maestro?
Whether you're on the naughty or nice list, Come out and support your Sharks. You never know, you might get a chance to say hi to Santa.
It's almost Christmas.
All we want for Christmas is a Sharks win. Check out our post-game autograph session and see if the players and dancers are asking for the same present as you.
Let's go!
Don't miss the fun and excitement of Sharks football this Saturday, July 13th. For tickets, go to jacksharks.com or call 621-0700. That's 904-621-0700. Let's go!
Let's go!
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician, Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Strength and resistance training are some of the best forms of exercise you can do to strengthen your muscles and improve your body composition. It may also lead to important improvements in metabolic health, meaning your blood sugar levels are easier to manage, and it also increases how many calories you burn at rest. The Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans recommends resistance training twice per week in addition to cardio training. Let's get fit, Jacksonville.
Here's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update, sponsored by Kuhn Flowers. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport says Jaguar cornerback Tyson Campbell is in for a big payday.
Tyson Campbell, very quietly, has emerged as one of the better young corners in the NFL. At some point, going to end up being one of the higher-paid corners in the NFL.
Jags corner Tyson Campbell, appearing on 1010XL The Drill, didn't express concern about getting the contract extension done.
As right now, I don't know. Letting my agent do his job, and if the guy says it's time for me to get an extension right now, then, it'll happen.
Jacksonville Jaguars and Everbank Stadium partners will host a job fair on Monday, July 15th at Everbank Stadium, presented by the Jaguars Guest Experience Department. The hiring event aims to fill thousands of part-time positions for all of 2024 home games and other stadium events throughout the season. And that's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm Sam Nelson.
At 11 o'clock, it's 85 degrees. Time and Sun brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler, Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Tony Smith, John Shipley, Dylan Denmark here with you. Mike Dempsey on assignment for a couple more days here. He'll be back with us on Monday. I know you're starting vacation tomorrow, right, Pockets?
Yeah, 10 o'clock tonight.
10 o'clock tonight.
Right.
Pockets is on his way.
Show.
When do you get back?
Monday afternoon. It's a little short trip.
So you'll be back on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Then I'll see you for a day. I am out Wednesday to Friday next week. I was just making sure that I'd see you one more time, Pockets, after we leave here today. But I'll see you on Tuesday, my friend. I'll be out for the second half of next week. It's that time of year, people. We're all taking it where we can get it. Mike and I have our kind of loose rules around the show. The station hasn't ever put any of these kind of restrictions on us. But we don't take days off during the season.
Yeah.
There's just no reason to.
Nah.
We tend to not take any days off even after the season until after the draft. Like, we don't even think about it. It's like, we got something to talk about. Draft's coming.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. It's like, I don't mind being here talking about all that stuff leading up to the draft. And then Mike and I are looking at each other like, okay, how are we going to split up this next 8 weeks? Like that kind of thing, because we have been on for a decade now doing this show. There has never been an episode of Jaguars Today where Mike Dempsey or Tony Smith has not been here.
That's awesome.
We're proud of that. Like it was funny a couple weeks ago when Dempsey was going through all that he was going through with the kidney stones and getting back and all that. And I was set to be on vacation the next week. He called me that Friday after he had done the show from home that day. And knowing he was going to be in on Monday, I was going to be out for a week of vacay. And he was like, look, he was like, we talk to each other about these things, even when one of us is going on vacation. Like if it can't work for you, something happens, you let me know, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Right. But we do have plans in place. This is, we're territorial about this show. I'm not territorial about many things in my life, but this show.
You should be. You guys have built something.
Yeah, this show is one of these things. It's important to me.
Yeah.
To be as involved with it as I can be until next Wednesday, and then I'll take 3 days off, and Mike will take over for it. I mentioned that Cody was a star on the show yesterday, Cody Benjamin over there at CBS. And, it was funny talking to Hayes Carline about it. Because when I had him on for a segment yesterday, when I asked him about it, he said, I think they ought to put him in timeout for a while. It's so egregious to not have Josh on the list at all. Or if you're going to put him on, at least get his name right.
Yeah.
Details of what's going on. It's so bad.
It's asking for the bare minimum.
Yeah, just keep the list of the top sack guys on the next. Anyone who's done the mock draft thing, I've seen enough of the mock drafts that I'll get 12 pages or 12 picks into one and be like, they forgot a guy. And I've seen that kind of thing happen, and I'm almost like, ugh.
I've done it. I get to the end of a round one mock draft. That's about as far as I go for entire NFL mock drafts. I'll get to it and realize I haven't had a guy there. And half times I restart, and half the time I'm like,
it is what it is.
Let's just roll with it. Yeah,
it is what it is.
To me, as a journalist, the most important thing outside of being factual, getting correct quotes, etc., is somebody's name and getting it right. To me, that's just the ultimate sign of respect, and it's also the ultimate sign of laziness and disrespect when you don't get somebody's name right. And it's 5 letters in a hyphen.
Well, yeah, Well, and I get it. It's not how it used to be with doing any of that either. There's no editor really doing anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't even know who you send it to.
No.
I assume you're your own editor.
Yeah.
On all this, I'll do it with D-Rock every now and then. When I'll see one of his right when he puts it up, and I'll see something. I've done it a couple of times with him. It's like, hey, man, this isn't quite what I think you want it to be.
Yeah.
I'll be like, yeah, good looking out.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It happens from time to time. I get it. It's not forgetting one of the top defenders in the league last year at a position on a top 20 list so that you can get Alex Highsmith on the list. I mean, what is that? And that's the reaction that he got from Jacksonville. Well, Cody was not put in timeout by CBS Sports. He's still putting out work today, despite Hayes' call for him to get the timeout with all the Josh Hines-Allen lunacy. Today, he is ranking all 32 NFL head coaches.
Okay.
The good news, he did remember that Doug Peterson is the coach, and he had him on the rankings, but,
does he get points for not saying Doug Marrone?
Little victories, right? That kind of thing. I know we talked about it before the show. I asked you if you had seen the list. You said not yet. I said, don't look at it. I just want to kind of go through it with you. So I'm not going to tell you where Doug is on the list, but I will take a look. I'll give you the coach, and you tell me if you think they are deserving of a spot ahead of Doug Peterson on the list.
Okay.
Right? Wherever you think they happen to be.
Okay.
Andy Reid.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Sean McVay.
Yeah.
Still with you. Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, yeah.
John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin.
Oh, that's easy.
Jim Harbaugh.
That one's a coin flip just because we haven't seen him in the NFL, but I would lean towards yes. I mean, he's been a consistent winner in the NFL. Yeah.
Dan Campbell.
Yeah, but slightly.
Sean McDermott.
I think they're about even.
Okay. Kevin Stefanski.
No.
Mike McDaniel.
I'm going to go no, but he's not that far behind, I don't think.
Kevin O'Connell.
No.
DeMeco Ryans.
No, not yet.
That'll scroll. Zach Taylor.
No, I'd take Doug Peterson over Zach Taylor.
Nick Sirianni.
I'd take Doug Peterson over Nick Sirianni. I'm not a big Nick Sirianni guy, though.
Mike McCarthy.
No, of course not.
Sean Payton.
Unless this is 2013, no.
We have gotten past the point where Doug was on the list.
Okay.
Right? You heard all those names. I know I heard where you would have put him, which was, let's see, ahead of him. I think you would have had him right around 10.
Okay, that to me, like when I think of Doug, I think he's like a top 12 to 14 head coach. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And like there's a couple of those that are close. Like I could see DeMeco reasonably jumping him. I could see Kevin O'Connell, eventually maybe doing it.
Yeah, I know you started mentioning kind of close once we got to around Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Then Sean McDermott with the Bills, right? Then Stefanski with the Browns. I think it was the first one you said, he's ahead of Stefanski.
Yeah.
Right, so that would put him at 10 on the list. Where they actually had Doug Peterson on the list was 16.
See, while I don't agree with it,
just behind Sirianni and just ahead of Mike McCarthy.
See, I don't agree with it, but I don't think it's like a hanging offense. I think Doug is a good head coach. I don't think he's an elite one, but I think that's probably like top, that 12 to 15 range, I think is probably the sweet spot for him.
Yeah, I think we're far enough removed from him having won a Super Bowl that they're willing to do this kind of thing with Doug.
Yeah, for sure.
On this kind of list at this point. And
it's been a while.
Like, I do wonder if the Jaguars had won one more football game last year, where would Doug be on this list?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think he would be ahead of Sirianni in all likelihood. I think he'd be ahead of Taylor. I think he'd likely be ahead of D'Amico.
I don't get why Kevin Stefanski is ahead of him, because the Browns had a better defense than the Jaguars. Like the Browns' offense during Kevin Stefanski's tenure has been as stop and go as my truck outside. It's been extremely inconsistent.
No doubt. And he does have, the different tiers with this kind of list, which is not out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
For someone to put them together, there's different categories. There are guys who are doing it for the first time. What do you do with that? When you're putting together this kind of list, it's okay. We'll group them all at the bottom and kind of, sort of rank them. And the ranking almost feels like this is kind of my expectations for the team.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you do when you get to the bottom of the list. Like that, like he's got, let's see, unproven or underwhelming is what he called the third class of coaches here. At 32, he had Dennis Allen.
Yeah.
31, Gerard Mayo. Again, new guy. At 30, Brian Callahan. 29, Robert Saleh. 28, Antonio Pierce. 27, Jonathan Gannon. 26, Matt Eberflus. There's a couple of guys on this list.
Is Canales above all those guys?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. McDonald at 25 and Canales at 24.
That's crazy.
Well, I know you think it's crazy. Yeah. You think they're going to be the worst team in football.
I think he's going to be regretting taking that job. I think that, and I got another one for you. I think the Commanders are going to pick number 2 again.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the Commanders are going to have a brutal year.
I could see it with the Commanders.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they had so many issues stopping anybody defensively last year, and they were willing to trade away big pieces of that defense in the middle of a really terrible season. And they're going to be doing it with the rookie quarterback. Like, there's
behind a bad offensive line.
Right. There are a bunch of reasons to think Washington's not going to be a whole lot better this
I
year.
think one of the smartest moves a coach has made in the last couple of years is Ben Johnson turning them down.
Yeah.
I truthfully believe we fast forward 2 years, Ben Johnson will be the head coach for another team, and Dan Quinn's going to be on a hot seat.
Yeah.
That's my hot take for today.
It is interesting. A couple of the guys they mentioned there at the bottom end of that list with Saleh, especially there with the Jets, and not him, but Matt Eberflus. Like, those guys are both coaching teams that I think have real expectations.
Yeah.
Going into a year for the first time in whatever their tenures have been. To this point in their career, you'll see people all over the place about what the expectation should be for the Bears right this season, because they are pretty well put together.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of what exactly does a rookie quarterback do for the Chicago Bears? Like, outside of that, they have a bunch of important questions answered for that football team and franchise. What does that amount to? Like, you'll see lists where some people are like, I think they're going to be a surprise team in the NFL, and someone else will be like, this will be the biggest disappointment in the NFL this year. And Saleh's in that kind of position again.
Like, you got to win now.
Right. Like, whatever space there was for kind of, we'll find out who Robert Saleh is last year, it's whatever good whatever good feelings he had earned from anybody and that kind of thing, they all went away, and most of it's not his fault, right? Like, he is a defensive-minded coach. The Jets' defense is awesome, right? Like, they are so good on that side of the football. His quarterback tore his Achilles 3 plays into the season. What's he supposed to do with it? And their answer for that was Zach Wilson.
I wasn't home when, I wasn't watching that game when it happened. I think I was at, I want to say my own, our Little League football team's practice, and I was coming home from it, and I looked at my phone, and I saw people talking about Rodgers tearing his Achilles, and I was like, you're all having a goof at me, right? There's no way.
Yeah, no way.
There's no way this dude came out with the American flag and everything, and on the third play, their season's over. Now, Saleh reminds me, that pattern. I mean, you see it a lot of times when teams hire a coach to begin with. The entire fan base is almost always with them. I mean, Gus Bradley, he's a great example. Everybody was with him until about the third year into it, and then people are like, all right.
We've seen enough.
Yeah, you got to
make it happen now or let's go.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I see where Saleh's at.
Yeah, and I don't think it's unreasonable for him to be.
No.
But it is interesting that there wasn't a whole lot of heat on it last year.
No, there's none.
It's how these things work, and I do think there's something to the fact that he is a defensive coach, and the defense he's coaching is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? I get he's the head coach, so he's not completely in charge of all those kind of things right now, but he's kind of in charge of the defense for the New York Jets, He's going to lean towards the thing that he does best. They're awesome on that side of the football. Now, they got awesome players on that side of the football, which helps out a lot with those kind of things, but that side, he's doing all right. It does, in that sense, it does feel similar to me to the Gus Bradley thing, where he's going to find a job somewhere if it doesn't work with the Jets. I don't know if he'll be a head coach again anytime soon.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work with the Jets, it's...
He'll be a coordinator for sure, though.
Yeah. NFL head coaches aren't usually on the defensive side of the ball typically anymore anyway.
He was respected when he was here. I remember when he was the linebackers coach here, how much players loved him.
No doubt. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day today asking, outside of Trevor Lawrence, what player are you most confident in seeing a breakout season from in 2024? We'll kick that around as we continue along. We'll take a look around the National Football League on the other side as well. We'll let you hear from head coach Doug Peterson, who hopped on on NFL Network yesterday. And when Doug speaks, we listen. We'll let you hear a little bit from the head man, number 16 coach in the NFL, according to Cody Benjamin, as we continue along. It's a Thursday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today Thursday is hitched to Cannons of Jacksonville for all your towing needs.
Jaguars Today.
You're at the home of the Jaguars in the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. She's not afraid to chop it up with the guys.
All right, I can be tough. Okay, I've got to be. I can also be tender.
Mia O'Brien is on Helmets and Heels.
I envy this woman.
Weekdays noon to 2 on 1010XL.
Thank you for being so honest.
Did you know you can charge the all-new Honda Electric Prologue in the same receptacle as your phone? You don't need these special charging stations at your home. Simply plug in your Honda or your phone. See your local Honda dealer now. We're electrified.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Need to enhance your home's curb appeal? Stonecore on Phillips Highway is your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Replacing with new stone pavers will transform your driveway into a stunning work of art. Say goodbye to unsightly concrete and hello to beautiful, durable pavers that last for years. Visit Stonecore today and let's beautify your home together. Stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
Bolt City Heating and Air is here to keep you cool this summer. Anytime, any day, whenever you need fast, reliable air conditioning service. Their friendly technicians have fully stocked work vans, so they can get your AC done on-site the same day. Rely on a family-owned, Jacksonville-grown company this summer to keep your home cooling system working smarter, not harder. Experience the bold difference. Visit BoldCityAC.com to schedule your service appointment. BoldCityAC.com.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and now that you have Honda boats on the showroom floor, tell them about the big boat sale.
We are excited. We got a big sale, 11th through 13th. You want to come on down, see us in person. Some of our boats are going to be up to $30,000 off.
Up to $30,000 off?
$30,000 in savings. It's a big sale event.
So they can start shopping online at cyclesofjacksonville.com. The size of the boats?
Anywhere from 19 to 24 foot, all with legendary Honda outboards.
Honda and Coach, check them both out on Atlantic near Regency. Cycles of Jacksonville.
I insist on complete honesty.
You can chime in anytime on the 1010XL text line.
Installed by Lifetime Flooring.
If you have something to say to me, I wish you would just say it.
Share your opinion.
Are you nuts?
What? 641-1010.
That's crazy.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent. So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle.
Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Free and Gentle. This back-to-school season, Tide and Downy are giving back with $1.5 million in scholarships. Enter to win. No purchase necessary. US/DC 17+. End September 30th. Rules. Tide.com/scholarship/official rules.
Hey Jaguar friends, I'm Donovan Darius, former 10-year NFL strong safety for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm hosting my free Tackling Technique Jaguars camp for kids ages 10 to 14 on July the 27th. This Jaguar camp will have some of my former Jaguar teammates out there coaching the kids on all the fundamentals that it takes to be a great tackler. To get involved, just go to DariusNextLevelTraining.com to sign up your kids ages 10 to 14. If you'd like to sponsor, you can go to the same website, DariusNextLevelTraining.com.
It's the coolest week to save during the summer fan sale at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Buy one fan, save 10%. Buy two, save 15%. Buy three or more and save 20% off all fans at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Showroom near the Avenues.
Let's go! Help cheer your Sharks on to victory as they battle the Green Bay Blizzards in exciting IFL football action this Saturday, July 13th, 7 o'clock in the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Now, check out our new family pack. You get 4 tickets, 4 vouchers, and a $25 Al's Pizza gift card. It's a great deal. To purchase yours or to get more information, call 904-621-0700. And ho, ho, ho! Who's ready for Christmas in July?
A little Christmas music, maestro?
Whether you're on the naughty or nice list, come out and support your Sharks. You never know, you might get a chance to say hi to Santa.
It's almost Christmas.
All we want for Christmas is a Sharks win. Check out our post-game autograph session and see if the players and dancers are asking for the same present as you.
Let's go!
Don't miss the fun and excitement of Sharks football this Saturday, July 13th. For tickets, go to jacksharks.com or call 621-0700. That's 904-621-0700.
Let's go! Let's go!
If you're tired of your fence looking like a bad hair day, well, it's time for a fence makeover with Superior Fence and Rail. They'll make your yard the talk of the town with a new fence installed by their expert team.
Your fence is fantastic. My fence is giving all of my neighbors some serious pick and envy. Thanks, Superior Fence and Rail.
So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your fence installation project today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com. 1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Jaguars Today
on 1010XL.
Tony Smith, John Shipley, Dylan Denmark here with you. This is Jaguars Today. We are 13 days away from Jaguars training camp opening up. They're sending out all the info here over the last couple of days. The dates that were open to the public, it has been, it's cool to be in a place where basically they say, yeah, they're all open.
Yeah.
Because
it's easier to say which ones aren't open.
Yeah. Like there's so many of these spots around the league that you've heard the dates being released here over the last couple of weeks. And it's like they'll have 5 open practices. And it's like, all right. Like what?
I'll say this. For any Jags fans that didn't go to Jags training camp practice last year at the Miller Electric Center, obviously I'm not, sitting, where the fans are, etc. But from my perspective, the fans have it like 50 times better now than they did in past training camps I've covered. And like the shaded area, really nice, comfortable seats, and you have a great view of literally everything. I definitely, if you're a fan, recommend it because I can remember the first couple of training camps I covered and fans sitting in the non-shaded, bleachers on the far end from everything to the point where I was like, why are you guys even out here?
Yeah. I do high school games on Friday nights, right? I'm covering bowls. I do the broadcast for all the bowls games all season long. And every now and then I'll go to a high school facility and I'll be like, oh, this is really nice.
Yeah.
Like the Miller Electric Center is as good a facility like that as you'll ever walk into.
For sure.
From that perspective, it's a professional level of that. Right, that they built so that they could practice, right? Like it is a little bit nuts that that's what they did. But their training, the food, they had all these things that they wanted to make sure they could do and improve the experience of being a Jacksonville Jaguar here. Right, like that was the idea. They've done it.
Yeah.
It's a state-of-the-art facility from that perspective, and the fans that the Jags have always been good about opening up training camp to the fans anyway. Like that's never been a big issue. They've been willing to open those kind of things up, but now they're opening them up, and basically you're getting to go to as good a facility as you'll find in town.
Yeah,
basically to go experience something like that. I mean, it's first rate. What they do.
Complete 180 from, and I've said countless times throughout my career that the one positive thing Urban Meyer ever did for the Jaguars was coming in there and telling Shad Khan your facilities are terrible, and getting the house that Urban built, getting the ball rolling on the facilities because they needed to. Their facilities were terrible. Walking through the bowels of Everbank Stadium, and it was like walking like you're an underground person, like walking like through a sewer sometimes. It's complete 180. I think training camp experience for fans is now at Miller Electric Center is probably great.
Yeah, and here in about 3 years, it's all going to change.
Oh, yeah.
The whole experience of the whole shebang is going to be different, but the Miller Electric Center is still going to be a part of it, obviously, for the Jaguars. We got Doug Peterson that we want to hear from here in just a moment, but first, let's take a look around the National Football League.
Now, Gems Around the NFL, brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
Arizona wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., who was sued earlier this year for a breach of contract, had the contract details of what he had going on with Fanatics revealed yesterday for the first time publicly. Under the alleged term sheet between Fanatics and Harrison, he was due to earn $1.05 million from April of this year through March 2025 in exchange for game jerseys, more than 35,000 autographs. Harrison continues to dispute the existence of a contract. The binding term sheet, however, provides that each party acknowledges and agrees that it shall be legally bound by the terms and conditions of the term sheet. That said, the term sheet also provides that the two sides will, quote, work together in good faith to negotiate an agreement to combine, amend, and restate the deal promptly after the signing of the term sheet. No evidence that a formal full-blown contract was ever prepared and signed, so the legal side of this continues. On the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing. Detroit wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the receivers that will be featured on the Netflix series Receiver that drops today. He shared an injury story from last season about him suffering what he thought was a hip pointer week 4, but played that Thursday night on a short week against Green Bay. He caught a touchdown that night. He had an MRI after the game and was told that he had torn his oblique off the bone. He missed one game with the injury, caught 25 passes combined over the next 2 weeks after that, and didn't miss any more time due to injury. Just absolutely crazy stuff there. Obviously, receiver coming up today over there on Netflix. He's not the only receiver being featured there on the show, as George Kittle, who is, as we've discussed before, he's a WWE wrestler playing tight end in the NFL, is essentially what he is. The man can cut a promo, right? When everything is said and done. And George Kittle was unafraid to cut his own kind of promo as well against the Jacksonville Jaguars on the premiere of Receiver.
Second down, 1. Kittle goes in motion right. Purdy under center, a 5-step drop. Now going to pump and throw down the sideline. Kittle! He's got it, and he's gone. Touchdown!
Can't put a linebacker on me. I don't give a who it is. You can't put it on me. That's disrespectful.
You've got George Kittle one-on-one with a linebacker outside with a ton of area.
Easy catch, and then just toe-dragging, high-stepping all the way to the end zone.
Literally walking in the last yard.
Putting a linebacker on George Kittle that's an error.
Yeah.
To say the very least, unless that linebacker is Ray Lewis or somebody like that who may be able to do something about that. But even he'd be going, what are y'all doing? What is this call, on this particular play? But we were talking about it during the last break. I did watch quarterback last year and enjoyed it quite a bit, ultimately, especially, as I mentioned to you, it's watching what Kirk Cousins was going through every week just to try to get back on the field and have all those conversations, never complain to anybody about it, right? But how beat down he was getting behind that bad Minnesota offensive line and finding a way to get back up and play the next week, and everything was going on with that football team. And then you'd be like, maybe this is the week they figure some things out. Nope. We're just going to watch Kirk get absolutely murdered 20 times again today, which, you contrast that in the show last year with what was going on with Mahomes and the ankle injury against the Jags in that playoff game and the way that all that ended. And Mariota was on the show. It's kind of the way that I remember it.
He was such a weird addition to begin with.
Yeah. Like, I get the idea of this is a guy who's a veteran guy, going to get maybe his one last chance to start in the NFL. What does that look like?
That's fair.
That has some level of intrigue with it, but the way that it actually played out was how we all thought it would play out.
Yeah.
In all likelihood with Mariota, which was he wasn't the starter.
Yeah.
Basically for the back half of the season. Now the receiver series is coming up. I wasn't really excited about it until I read the story about Amon-Ra St. Brown being willing to play with his stomach torn off the bone.
That's crazy.
And, Kittle was being Kittle. I was like, I forgot Kittle was going to be on it. Like, Kittle being on it is probably enough to get me to watch anyway.
I don't remember the exact details off the top of my head, but I remember Christian Kirk saying something similar in, the locker room interviews after the season ended last year, the day after. He was like, I've actually been seriously injured for weeks, and I was just playing through. These guys are tough, man.
Yeah, it's crazy what they can do. One last little note from around the league. The Titans are giving free agent safety Jamal Adams a 1-year deal. So that would have been, as you mentioned when you told me about it, that's a big deal 5 years ago. We'll see what kind of effects that has for the Titans going into 2024. The Titans are interesting.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They're definitely they seem like a team who almost like the Jaguars in 2020, where they were like, we know we're not going to compete, so let's give this young quarterback who flashed a chance to see, and we'll just try to build talent elsewhere. I don't know. Obviously, everything depends on Will Levis. I think they're more talented than people give them credit for. It's just how much do you believe in Will Levis?
Yeah.
And me personally, I'm not a huge believer in him. I just think he's talented to a degree. He's got a live arm. He's a big guy. He's athletic. He's tough. But to me, he's also still the same guy who turned the wrong way to hand the ball off against the Jaguars last year.
Look, their top three receivers are really good.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever you think of Calvin Ridley, he's not a bad player.
I think he's going to have a good year, man.
Right.
I know nobody wants to hear that, but I think he is.
I do too. And DeAndre Hopkins is still DeAndre Hopkins. He was really good for Tennessee last year with all that chaos going on around him. And they add Tyler Boyd, right? Their top three, that's really solid. The questions about the quarterback, you are having to replace Derrick Henry, and we have no idea what that's going to look like in Tennessee. Life post Derrick Henry.
Crazy.
That's a big question for that organization. And our wide receivers are better. It's they are.
Yeah.
Right? What would that have looked like with Derrick?
Yeah.
The Tennessee Titans going into this season, if they had found a way to re-sign Derrick Henry and got those other pieces in place, I don't know if they could have afforded to do all that. But if they had found a way to get that kind of thing done going into the season, I'd be like, they're a little scary.
Oh, for sure.
Right? At this point, I'm like, they're interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be, but if they had been able to keep the king with them up there, thank goodness. The Jags don't have to deal with that twice a year.
I think they're probably a 6-7 win team this year. I don't think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league, it feels like some people think, like, which I think goes to show you how much the AFC South has grown to where it's like the clear fourth team in the division is still kind of like spunky. You know, it's still kind of interesting.
They're competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're not going to be, there's nobody in the division that you say, oh, those are 2 wins.
Yeah.
Right? And for a long time, that was the other 3 teams in the division when they saw Jacksonville on the schedule. Like, I get it. And for a little while there, that was the Titans on the schedule, you know, and for a little while there, it was Houston, right? Like, it's kind of gone around in that kind of way where there's generally been a team where you looked at and say, we ought to win 2 against them. Like, if you were one of the teams that was supposed to be competing for the division, you'd go into it saying, I don't know what's going to happen with everything, but we're 2-0 against them.
If they split all of their division series this year, would that surprise you?
No.
No. I think...
Like, it'd be a little disappointing to me. For sure. But it wouldn't surprise me.
For sure. I don't think the division's a cakewalk.
No. I don't think it's anywhere near a cakewalk. We'll let you hear from head coach Doug Peterson on the other side. We'll also give you our answers to the Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day, asking you who you expect to be the breakout player for the Jags in 2024 outside of quarterback Trevor Lawrence. We'll get to some of your answers to that as well as we'll put a bow on this edition of Jaguars Today on the other side here on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today Thursday is towed by Cannons of Jacksonville. Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Make your track bar adjustment on 1010XL.
He said he was a little bit free.
This Sunday at Pocono Raceway. Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234 on your NASCAR station. 1010XL.
Hey folks, it's Jennifer Marion. Randy Marion Cadillac is the pinnacle of luxury in the First Coast area.
And guess what? We've got the all-new Cadillac Lyriq with $16,000 off MSRP.
That's right. You pick the color and drive away today in ultimate style.
Experience the future of driving with the Cadillac Lyriq. Electric, elegant, and exhilarating.
Visit us online at randymarioncadillacofjacksonville.com or come see us on Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
Don't miss out on this unbeatable deal. Plus tax tag title $8.99 admin fee and resistor.
Tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Right now, you may be running a little late, or feeling stressed, or overwhelmed, and you may be going a bit over the speed limit. So to help you relax, exhale. Ease up on the gas. You'll get there when you get there. Take a moment to just chill. This little break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
The hottest trend in casual dining has expanded in Jacksonville with its 5th location off 103rd. The Flame Broiler serves up protein-packed rice bowls. It's fast, healthy, and affordable. Order online at flamebroilerusa.com or visit any of our 5 locations. Flame Broiler, simply healthy.
Did you know a metal roof from Prime Roofing will last 2 to 3 times longer than a shingle roof? If you want a better roof, think metal. Think Prime Roofing. Schedule your free estimate today at primeroofingfl.com. That's primeroofingfl.com.
He's a professor of quarterback play, and class is in session.
We want to take you into the lab so you can learn more about the science of quarterback.
Denny Thompson, Friday mornings on The Drill. Brought to you by Tyson Sound and Security and George Moore Chevrolet on 1010XL.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood. Underwood has completed 75 years in business, and now you are starting your next 75 years. If you were going to simplify things, what is the single most important thing in Underwood's history, and what will be the most important thing in your future?
Frank, that's simple. Our honesty and integrity. You know, our founder, H.F. Underwood's favorite saying was, know the truth and tell the truth. That's why we're the longest-standing member of the American Gem Society in Florida. Because we know you have to have the knowledge about gemstones before you can tell the truth about them. That's why we continue to educate our staff through the Gemological Institute of America and the American Gem Society. In fact, today, Underwood's has the largest American Gem Society credentialed staff of professionals east of the Mississippi River. So come by and see why we're looking forward to the next 75 years and let one of our experts assist you.
That's at Underwood's, serving excellence since 1928. In San Marco, Avondale, the shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwood Jewelers.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Sandwiches and Subs. Well, I say sandwiches and subs. It's not just that. How about Dandy Breakfast? As you're driving around, breakfast is good, by the way, any time of day, but they've got so many delicious breakfast items Dandy has in area gate stations. I can't list them all in 60 seconds, but think buttermilk biscuits, soft flaky croissants, French toast, light tasty maple waffles, sizzling country sausage, black forest ham, thick sliced bacon, peppered fried eggs, creamy Wisconsin cheddar cheese. I could go on and on. Now think of all the different combos that they can put together with that. Dandy for breakfast is absolutely a staple of on-the-go eating here in Jacksonville, FLA. As Duval is all kinds of spread out, sometimes you get a little bit hungry on the road. Swing into an area gate station, enjoy some AC as you head to the fresh case and look over those breakfast as well as all those other menu items from Dandy, knowing that they're made with the highest quality ingredients. When you're hungry in Duval, do what I do. Go out and make yours a Dandy, and do it today.
Tired of dealing with clogged drains? What about bad smells coming from your pipes? You need to call Duck Duck Rooter, your plumbing pros in Northeast Florida. Duck Duck Rooter can help with any plumbing issue at your home or business. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
What's changed totally inside and out? The Kuhn Flowers massive storefront, and yes, they've totally remodeled the showroom inside too. This is Frank Frangie. And the next time you drive by, stop and smell the roses at Kuhn Flowers.
I-9 Sports wants to make sure kids all over the First Coast can enjoy growing up on a field or in a gym. And right now, fall and winter registration is open. Find out what I-9 Sports offers across Duval, Clay, and St. John's. I9Sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code for a discount.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
I'm Jeff Middlecoff with Trustline Mortgage. My business partners, Alan Tyre, Bill Pappas, and Ken Rimley, have been helping first-time home buyers with their mortgage financing all over Florida for 34 years. First-time home buyers can get no or low down payments, anywhere from 0 to 3.5% down. As a first-time home buyer with Trustline Mortgage, you get added benefits for doing your loan with us, like lower rates on your mortgage insurance and lower closing costs. Oh, and did I forget to mention that Trustline gives first-time home buyers better mortgage interest rates? Here's the bottom line. Trustline Mortgage wants to help first-time home buyers accomplish your goal of home ownership. That's why Trustline Mortgage is offering the best first-time home buyer benefits around, period. Trustline Mortgage delivers with no and low down payments, lower closing costs, and better interest rates. Call Trustline Mortgage today at 381-LOAN. Yes, 381-LOAN to find out how we can help you buy your dream home. Or visit our website at TrustlineMortgage.com. Trust your instincts and follow the line to Trustline Mortgage.
Certain restrictions apply. See office for details. Trustline is an equal housing opportunity. MLS number 331480.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Tony Smith, John Shipley, Dylan Denmark here with you. One more segment, John.
Yes, sir.
Gonna hear from head coach Doug Peterson in just a moment as he spoke on NFL Network yesterday. I asked Hayes about this. ETN, I was looking at the numbers a couple of days ago. He got 60% of the offensive snaps there his second year, his first year on the field, and that makes sense. They had James Robinson beginning of the year, so it cut into it a little bit. He got 73% of the team's offensive snaps last year. 74% of the running back carries for the team, which makes sense if he's playing.
That's also lower than I thought.
I was a little bit surprised by it too. Would you like to see those numbers change, and how much do you expect them to change this season?
I mean, he's another guy who, I feel like we say this about every starter, but was playing hurt last year. You know, he was dealing with rib injury throughout the year. So I think just to keep him healthy and keep him fresh, I think absolutely you want to see that number come down a little bit. I think that's why they want Tank Bigsby so badly to be the player that they want him to be, somebody who can come in there and take something off of, you know, Travis Etienne, just preserve Etienne some, because Etienne, would he come in 10th on the ESPN ranking running backs? I think that's completely fair. I think it's fair to call him a top 10 running back over the last 2 years, but he's also not the kind of running back, I think, you know, he's not Derrick Henry. You're not trying to give him, I think, 320 something carries throughout the season. He's not built like that. You want to preserve him, I think, and I think he's at his best when he's fresh and he's able to, you know, do what he does at a higher level. So I think they absolutely should want that to come down. That's why I think they need to see something out of Tank Bigsby in the training camp and in the preseason to be confident with putting him on the field, because they didn't add anybody else. I mean, Keelan Robinson isn't going to come up in there and take the load off. Dearness Johnson's a good number 3 running back, but he's a good number 3 running back. You know, he's not a guy you're putting in there to like help somebody with a pitch count.
There were questions, it felt like early on, how effective would Etienne be as a third down back? Yeah. I think those have been mostly answered. You know, through these first couple of years, like he can be their third down back. Cool. You know, they don't need Dearness to do that. I think Dearness can do that, but I think Etienne is perfectly capable of it. I think it's me, and I felt this way going into last year, the rookie year for Tank Bigsby. I know what the talk around that was so similar to what it is again this offseason, right? And I was thinking the whole time, I was like, yeah, but Etienne is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's how I felt about it then. It's still how I feel about it now. Like, I get the idea of trying to protect him
for sure
from being the 330 carry guy, but in my mind, I go, oh, but what would it look like if he was the 330 carry guy? You know, because I do think he is so dynamic in what he is capable of doing. You saw his reception numbers go way up last year compared to 2 years ago for the team. I don't know how much higher they can go, honestly, than they were last year, but if they had a season this year where they got Etienne something close to 275, 280 carries and 65, 70 catches, I'd be like, yeah, let's go. Like, I think that's the best solution for the team, given the options that they have. I think that we've seen the evidence of it's why they were willing to spend the draft pick on Tank. It's why they were willing to talk about him going into the season last year the way they were. It's why they're talking about it the same way this offseason. I think they very clearly want to limit how much they're exposing Etienne. I'm not sure limiting the exposure of Etienne is going to help the team in the long run, because that's how good a player I think Etienne is.
Oh, he's their, whatever word you want to use, explosive, dynamic, electric, whatever it is, he's their best skill player from that standpoint. And I think there's a big gap between him and number 2 until at least we see, you know, Brian Thomas actually in a game setting and see the kind of what. But
he's got the kind of skill as Brian Thomas does that you wouldn't be surprised if he explodes into something here in the first couple of years of his career.
For sure, absolutely. So until then, Etienne is their most dangerous player to have the ball in his hands. So I agree with you. I don't think you're wrong at all. The best thing for the team is for Travis Etienne to be on the field as much as possible.
Yeah. We want to get to this. Want to let you hear from Doug Peterson. He talked about his confidence level in his quarterback. Of course, if he's going to appear anywhere, they're going to ask him about the quarterback. Why wouldn't you? But Doug Peterson talked about his confidence level in Trevor Lawrence on NFL Network yesterday.
Yeah, well, the decision was easy. You know, we all feel in the building that he's our guy, and he's obviously the face of the franchise. And he was drafted a few years ago, the first-round pick to be that guy. And we have all the confidence in the world, and we're just excited and thrilled for he and his family to get this contract behind him as we head into this season, into 24, and just continue to build on the last 2 years. Wasn't a perfect finish, to last season. We had some injuries. Trevor's one of those guys that we got to continue to keep healthy, but he's on the right path, and we continue to work. We build the pieces around him, get our run game going a little bit, play good defense, and see what happens.
We removed Trevor Lawrence from consideration as an answer for the question of the day today, because it does feel like if you ask a fan, what player are you most confident in being a breakout player this year? I think Trevor Lawrence would be at the top of most people's list for this year. But what does a breakout season for Trevor Lawrence this year look like?
30-plus touchdowns.
Okay.
4,500 yards at least. Under 12 interceptions?
That'd be, if he's throwing 32 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, that's cooking.
Yeah, pretty good year.
Yeah, that's cooking. If he throws 32 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, the Jaguars' record is what?
It's got to be 10-7 is the floor, right?
I would think.
Like that's got to be the worst they are. If he's playing that well and they're not winning, then they got some serious questions to ask otherwise. Because it really feels like that was the big thing last year, was once he stopped playing well because of injuries, that's when everything fell apart.
Yeah. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day today. Outside of Trevor Lawrence, what player are you most confident in seeing a breakout season from in 2024? We'll answer that in the form of a 10-10 take.
10-10 take. Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take. Brought to you by Leonard Truck Accessories.
Got a lot of Trayvon Walker in the response, which I'm not surprised by. We were discussing it during one of the breaks earlier. I'm not sure exactly what a breakout from Trayvon looks like, because he's a complicated player.
He is.
To figure out what that kind of thing would look like. But his name got mentioned a lot. I see Cisco, someone here for Parker Washington, Anton Harrison. That'd be interesting. Offensive lineman breaking out.
Yeah.
Talking about how complicated it is with Trayvon Walker. Offensive lineman, Pro Bowler? I guess if he made a Pro Bowl, and if, I've said this kind of thing before, but if Anton Harrison, if an offensive lineman for the Jacksonville Jaguars makes the Pro Bowl, the Jaguars won 12 games. Minimum. Right? Like that's
100%.
That's one of those where you get that kind of attention because your team is having major success,
100%.
and it'll finally get you in everyone's mind kind of ahead of those other guys. ETN getting some love. Antonio Johnson, I mentioned here. Devin Lloyd. Among who would take your vote as the player you're most confident in seeing a breakout season from this year?
I'd probably go Antonio Johnson. I for the same reasons I mentioned earlier, why I think Cisco will have a good year in this game, I think Antonio Johnson even more so, because Antonio Johnson, he's better closer to the line of scrimmage, closer to the ball, and I think in this game specifically, he'll be able to wreak much more havoc than he did last year in his role, which the only real time he was doing anything other than just being in a slot was he'd do the occasional nickel blitz like he did against Cleveland when he had the strip sack. I think you'll see him get after the quarterback a lot more this year, do a lot of different things. I'm a big Antonio Johnson a fan. I think that he really came on over the course of, the final stretch of last year. I think he's in a good fit with this scheme, and I think their plan, I know Doug Peterson has said it, but people have questioned it since they've picked Jarian Jones, but I think the plan is for Savage to be in the slot and for Antonio Johnson to be the strong safety next to Cisco. And I think give him those increased snaps and you'll see some production.
I'd probably pick Antonio as my guy too. Yeah. And I can remember when they drafted him, like the day they drafted him, it's like, oh, they drafted their slot. And then once we got into mini camp that year and then training camp, it was like, oh, they're not going to play him in the slot.
Yeah.
It became pretty clear pretty early on they weren't going to do that kind of thing. But he was so around the action when he was allowed to be on the field last year.
I'd never seen it before. He was like a running down specialist slot corner. They were literally, once it got to the point where they were like, okay, we can't keep you off the field, like you have to play in some aspects, he would play on first and second down, and then passing downs would come on, and Trey Herndon would go onto the field, and the reason for that is Antonio Johnson, like I said, I think he's going to be a breakout player. I think he's one of their most exciting young players. He's just not like a true slot cornerback. He's not keeping up with some of these guys in man coverage, but put him at safety, which I think was always his natural role coming out of college, and especially put him closer to the box where he can, play moving forward as opposed to play moving backward. And I think could be a lot of exciting things in store for him.
I think it's interesting to see what his future is going to be.
Yeah.
It's really hard for all of us to try to figure out exactly how they want to use any of the pieces in the secondary.
Yeah.
At this point, you've had the chance to be out there whenever they've had it open.
Yeah.
To be out there. And everyone that I've talked to that had that opportunity, when you ask them, is Jarian Jones one of the three best corners on the team right now? They say, yeah, he's one of the three best corners on the team right now. Well, we're 2 weeks away from whatever the plan is for whatever they're going to be doing with the secondary finally being cleared to some degree as we get ready for preseason and get ready for the season. Right now, it's all so wide open in everyone's mind.
For sure.
It's hard to know who's going to be where and when.
Yeah. I agree. I think Jarian is one of the 3 best corners on the team. I think a non-corner would play in a slot. Again, can't give away anything that we've seen from everything, but my gut based off the offseason is we see Darnell in the slot. And Antonio, back to him. When the Jags made that trade down from 17 to 23 a couple months ago, my immediate reaction was, wow, what a trade. The immediate reaction of many in the fan base was like, what is Balky doing? Big reason I'm a big fan of moving back in the draft is because of cases like Antonio Johnson. They moved back in 2022 for Anton Harrison and picked up an extra 5th-round pick in doing so. That's the pick they used on Antonio Johnson. Yeah. So they don't have Antonio Johnson without moving back in the first round. So just things like that are always like reasons why I'm like, it's probably best to always try to move down in the first round if you can.
Let's, before we get out of here, let's wrap it up here on Jaguars Today.
Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Andre Cisco ranked 16th among the safeties over at ESPN. It's kind of a weird group, right? The safeties across the league, but It does feel like he's not in a spot where he's unworthy of being there in the rankings. He is a playmaker at the safety position. There are questions that will continue to kick around about what the long-term plan is going to be for a guy like Andre Cisco in the secondary. We talk a lot about Tyson Campbell, and it does feel like it's pretty imminent, the deal getting done based on the way people are talking about it, with a couple of weeks to go before training camp. But Cisco, one of those guys, you ask me, is he on the team in 2025? My answer would be, you tell me. Whether Cisco is going to be on the team in 2025, I think it's pretty open. Here going into his final season under contract with the Jaguars, Ship thinks 3 AFC South teams could make the playoffs this year. So we went through some of the hot takes earlier in the show, and he had the hottest of the takes that he agreed with on the opposite side of what the take was on the article that said that they thought Carolina would win the NFC South. Not Mr. Shipley. Shipley thinks they not only won't win the NFC South, they're going to be the worst team in football this year.
If the Panthers win the NFC South, I will print out that article and come in the studio and eat it. That's how confident I am.
We've had those. I thought it was going to go to a weird place. We've had some weird bets from on-air hosts about those kind of things in the past. Like we had one of our hosts for March Madness, Mr. Jeff Prosser. One of the teams he picked the walk naked to Texas.
Oh, God.
I think the best one was Hack saying if the Giants draft Daniel Jones, he'll walk in oncoming traffic. I don't think that happened.
Well, he's still with us, so if he walked into it, they avoided him as best they could. John, appreciate it, buddy. Enjoy the next couple of weeks. I'm sure we may check in with you 1 or 2 more times between now and the open of training camp. I know it's off-season time. Before we let you go, what is the biggest storyline heading into camp for you?
Who's calling the plays? Yeah. That's got to be – to me, that could determine who's the head coach next season. Because to me, in a scenario where – so Shad Khan clearly said that he's going to empower Doug Peterson. He's not going to micromanage and say, you have to call plays like maybe Jeffrey Lurie, would have or even did in Philadelphia. But to me, he made it clear that he wants Doug to call plays in so many words. Yeah. If Doug doesn't call plays and they miss the playoffs, how upset is he going to be?
Yeah.
Shad Khan.
Yeah, no doubt. John, appreciate you giving us a few hours today.
Thank you, my friend.
Tom McManus will be back for his usual Friday on the show tomorrow. For John Shipley, for Dylan Denmark, for an on assignment Mike Dempsey, I'm Tony Smith. Thank you, everyone, for listening as we now stand less than 2 weeks away from the start of training camp for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Helmets and Heels coming up next on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today, Thursday.
Brought to you by Cannons of Jacksonville.